Friends behind the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whether you're just perusing this, can you peruse a podcast? I don't know. Is perusing only visual? I was thinking about perusing things in a bookstore because this episode may have like a quick bookstore visit. But whether you're perusing, it's just funny. Perusing the podcast is a nice alliteration. Let me look up peruse for later. P-U-R. I don't even know how to spell it, though. Peruse. But I don't know. Maybe like it looks like, I'll read the explanation. What is that called? Not an explanation. I need an explanation of the definition. But you do peruse a podcast at first because you're if it's a visual only thing, you're perusing your podcast app. You're perusing podcasts in you peruse in your podcast app for podcasts to listen to. So if you're confused by my peruse, you may be in the right place. Welcome to Sleep With Me. This is a silly podcast meant to be your friend in the deep, dark night. Take your mind off stuff. Keep you company so you could fall asleep. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just talk you to sleep, just like you call a friend and you say, hey, talk to me about, do you know the definitions of very many words? No, but I can talk using the words without, I have a strange skill. I can peruse words without knowing their meaning. And they would say, technically, you can't peruse words. And I'd say, well, I can. It's just not, it disrupt the space-time continuum. They say, what happened with Earth 444 ZQ? It was the strangest thing. This guy started perusing words and everything went awry. So, yeah, that happened. But don't worry, that's not our timeline. In our timeline, my perusing is harmless perusing of words. If you were like, anyway, so this is a strange podcast. It takes some getting used to. Give it a few tries. What we got coming up is support so you can listen to the show free whenever you want. Then a long meandering intro meant to ease you into bedtime and get you comfortable. Then later on will be a bedtime story about some friends in a shopping mall. They may visit a bookstore. And that's it. I'm glad you're here. I work really hard, and I really hope I can help you fall asleep. These sponsors, the people who support them, are what make this show possible. Thanks so much. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, and I want to let you know about another sleepy podcast done. If you haven't heard about it before, I'm always talking about it. So if you're looking to add something to your sleepy mix, you got to check out Calm History. Would you like to learn more about the history for mining for coal, salt, and gold as you fall asleep? If so, you got to check out Calm History. It's done by my buddy Harris, who will soothe you to sleep as you learn about Florence Nightingale, hot air balloons, and the Klondike Gold Rush. And there are even episodes about the history of fictional forest-based friends, Charlie Chaplin, the Titanic. And all you need to do is search in your podcast player for Calm History, C-A-L-M History, or use the link in our show notes and check it out. That's Calm History. Thanks, everybody. Oh, Mystery Bard. A lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You
Mystery Bard. And hey, the thing I've been talking about lately is like there's ways to support the show beyond the sponsors and supporting the show directly. If you're an occasional listener, right? If you're a new listener or you can't afford to support the show, follow the show on your podcast app of choice. Make sure to like or comment if your app allows that, and say hi. Spread the word about the show in person when it comes up, or let people know about it. Go ahead right now. Follow the show on your podcast app right now. Then you get the latest episodes and stuff like that. Great. Yeah, spread the word when you can, or sign up for. We're relaunching our referral program. It's gonna be based with like live stream get-togethers every once in a while. We're gonna make it more fun. You can sign up for that. sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer REFER. Thanks, and what do you say we get down with the show? All right, hey everybody, Scoots here. This is our episodically modular series. It's called Multiplex. It's a series of episodes that are episodically modular with a touch of seriality, which means you could listen to these in any order. I believe this is episode 11, but you could listen to all the other episodes as prequels. And you'd say, well, I thought prequels always came in threes or ones. And I'd say, well, in this case, 3, 6, 9, 10 plus one. Three sets of prequels plus one. And then this is, we called it episode 11, but for you, it's episode 1. Or if you're a regular listener, the other cool thing is the main character will catch us up on most of what's been happening. And everything happens at a very slow and sleepy pace. But this is a tale about some friends at a shopping mall. They're helping out in the mall. They're helping out characters, workers at the mall, helping one another and growing. And, they're on an adventure. So that's the summary of the show from me. I'm so glad you're here. am so grateful I get to put you to sleep and keep you company on a regular basis. So it really is my honor. And next up, we've got, what's really an honor is always to have our Hollywood announcer come all the way from the greater Los Angeles area or other places, film fest, places where he's appreciated for in the daytime, in the evening, but we get Antonio after dark, and I'm not talking about that would have been on what used to be called Cinemax, but I could see Antonio after dark like at a fireplace, like with a jacket on, calmly doing something and helping everybody unwind. But in this case, he just comes here because he loves all of you. He loves putting you to sleep or being a part of this thing. And I guess in some sense he loves, he's nodding, which is making me uncomfortable. I was going to say he loves me. I love him. And I feel like Barney all of a sudden, but we are a great big family. To quote Barney, I love you, Antonio. You love me, clearly. I mean, let's just... in an odd couple way. Yes, I get it. He said that. Mike didn't pick it up, and we're a great big family with all the listeners. So without further ado, your Hollywood announcer, Mr. Antonio Banderas. That's touching. This is a Friends Beyond the Binary. This is ladies and gentlemen, the boys and girls. It's time to journey into the multiplex. Yeah. Flickety, flickety, flock. Oh, thanks, Antonio. That was smooth, too. And now, maybe I'll get a Barney suit. I wonder if hopefully there's that might be a good thing that might keep you quieter. Like if you were in a suit, as long as it didn't have any infrastructure, we just need like a cheap Halloween costume version. That only has the outside of Barney. Also, a lot of people probably don't know who Barney is anymore. But that's fine, too. But that's Mr. Antonio Banderas. This is Multiplex. Thanks for being here, everybody. Hi, everybody. My name's Wyatt. Welcome to my tale. I've been recording this now, looking back at my life here and sharing an adventure my friends and I went on at a multiplex, some shopping mall. And it's the reason I'm telling you this adventure is, people think I've I had a public access show about where I would show old movies, autumnal seasonal movies with characters from those movies. And sometimes I'd interview them before the show or in between segments. And it was just something I did for public access for fun as part of my hobby. And now in the internet age, I became popular, just within a certain subgenre of fans. But they said, how do you do the makeup and the prosthetics and the special effects? Even people from Hollywood did call me. And who were these performers? Who did the writing? Because it's like nothing we've ever seen. And that wasn't also to take away from the shows that already existed, some of which were on broadcast television, which were all very good, a lot of them. And a lot of them had good interviews and effects. It's just to say that mine were different and not associated with public access television. But the reason is because it was real. And I want to clear the record that these were friends of mine from another world. And they're real, but you're not going to believe that, right? You're saying this is just an audio recording I'm listening to, and you're just a character, and, none of that's real or anything like that. And I'd say, okay, fine, that's fine. We can agree on that part. Why, right? Because you may be asking why you talk about it anyway. Well, the more important thing is I went on the way I met these friends and made friends with these characters was that I went on an adventure with my friends from high school. But the reason I want to tell the tale isn't because it was a grand adventure, and it was, like an adventure no one could ever have but us. But you're on an adventure like that too. I hope you understand that. And I guess I didn't realize that that's like part of the message I'm trying to get across, because we went on a grand adventure that didn't end in greatness, that didn't end in transcendent amazement. And our adventure ended in an average life in the best way possible for each one of us, except for Boyd. But Boyd anyway, the reason because three of us, myself, Wyatt, Santos, San, and Josie, we were all in different ways what people may call A-type personalities, overachievers, destined for greatness, without crushing external pressure either. There was pressure, but we were all headed to halls of ivy, to unlimited horizons, which is kind of contradictory because when they say you got an unlimited horizon or whatever, really they mean you're going to fly high in the sky. And, that's what we thought we were not only destined to do, but supposed to do, and what would bring us happiness. I mean, we're just teenagers, right? But what we found in this adventure was that our paths diverted. And instead of I guess it was a road less traveled, but it was more like, hey, this road's not so fancy. Why don't you try traveling on this one? And you might say, Boyd, you're trying to be fake humble. And that's not something and I'd say, no. I mean, maybe I am. I'm not perfect, right? I'm just trying to say that nobody ever tells an adventure that ends in, maybe they do and you just don't remember it, but an adventure that ends in kind of average stuff, but that an adventure gets you there. Or maybe you say, how's that person just smiling and doing that stuff? And even that's why I guess maybe I am selfishly telling this tale for myself. How did I get so lucky? One, to have an adventure I could never tell about until now, but two, that the adventure led me to someplace satisfactory, but not it's shiny in its own way. I don't know. I don't even know if anybody probably hear this, but so the four of us, three of us, Santos, Josie, and I, Wyatt, we were all destined for greatness. You say, well, that's what somebody that never achieved greatness would say. I'd say, fair enough. You say whatever, you're free to say whatever you want to say. Yeah, that's fine. But so we were all destined, but what had happened was I had had a misstep or two on my path and full scholarship to a very, highly acclaimed university. But I still was headed that way. I said, well, I'll still find another way to pay for going to that highly acclaimed university. They should want me anyway. But as a teenager, I was also like, I guess I didn't just say that. I said, I got to find a way with under my control, pull up my bootstraps, because if I don't have that extra money, I can't go. And that was when we ran across Boyd, the corncob kid, Boyd was known as at our school. And Boyd emerged from a culvert as we were playing mini golf or finishing a game of mini golf. And he said, more or less, this is a short version, on the other side of this culvert is a shopping mall. You all know about it. It's been closed for years. In the shopping mall is I'm going to be like a juice concentrate. They've been abandoned there. They're still usable, and I can sell them to make money, but I need help. There's a lot of the concentrate, and it sells for a high price, so there would be a lot of money for us to share. All I need is your help. This is an opportunity, and it's knocking. Boyd didn't say that, but I thought that was a dramatic thing to add in there because it's the truth. And so we said, we'll answer the door. Let's go. We went into the shopping mall to get this Julius J. Juice concentrate, and we found that slowly we realized that something was awry in the mall, something beyond our understanding. A few things we found out slowly. Time in the mall was operating much slower than in the outside world. Or no, much faster, I guess. One day at the mall equaled an hour in the outside world. Is that faster or slower? I don't understand. But anyway, and we had planned on spending the weekend, so we'd all covered for each other at our houses. So we had about 2 days of cover time. So time was different. The mall was different because it had been closed for years, abandoned, surrounded by fencing, but the stores were stocked. There was food for us to eat. There was occasionally workers, though they did seem to come from another world, but they weren't from the big farm in the sky either, but they were real but not real. We also realized that the Multiplex was playing movies, and the characters from the movies, these were classic movies, autumnal-themed movies. The characters were leaving their movies and wandering the mall. Those characters needed our help, and by helping them, they would be able to return to their movies, and their movies would result in a different ending. None of those movies end well for those autumnal figures. But in our versions, when we helped them, they would go back, and then it would become a cereal commercial. Then we met the Crispy Commander, Commander Crunch, who was actually a cereal mascot in the that was real. But we'd already spent enough time in the mall. It didn't really, it struck us as different, but who said, yeah, I need your help helping these autumnal figures, and they're going to become cereal. I'm going to make money from the cereal. You'll get the money, and you'll keep your world protected because you don't want these autumnal figures leaving the mall, obviously. And so when we were in, and when we last left off, the person who would not be seen, we had watched their film. Josie had gone into their film and sprained her knee, or more than sprained it, but in a way that had been treated in the movie. And and we'd kind of got a taste of this person who would not be seen. You know, they had power of invisibility. In the movie, they were full of chaos and unkindness. And we didn't this was the first movie where we were kind of stumped of, do we want to help this person even at all? And then we crossed paths with them at the tea shop, right? And they they were there. They'd made tea for us, and they'd asked us to sit down to have tea with them. We'd also covered them in paste and tea so we could see them. And I guess that's where we left off. So, yeah, like usually I take a break when we're sleeping, but we weren't asleep here. But basically, the person that could not be seen, they said, hey, okay, let's have some tea. Ha, you covered me in tea. You got me. I guess you'll be able to see me from now on for the time being. Wonder if this will be itchy. There's some in my ear, the whole thing. They said, sit down, let's have some tea together. And we were just, they said, sorry you injured your knee, Josie. And they said, sit down, I'm a provider of tea, and I've been a good provider for all of you, haven't I? And we were like, what? Because they were explaining. Because one of the things we just had trouble figuring out was that the mall was running, but there wasn't anyone running it. Occasionally there was a worker, but the workers, based on this transverse plane theory that Crispy Commander Crunch, the Crispy Commander had told us, was that this mall is built on or intersects with the transverse plane. Things come through the transverse plane that need assistance, whether it's autumnal figures or mall workers. And other things are at play beyond our understanding, but that's basically what you need to know. You're supposed to help people. And when your transverse plane is a place where, I guess, the more I'm learning about it, like things reach out across universes, may or may not be parallel, may just be intersecting, that need assistance, and you help. Lesson for life if I ever heard one. So... we were like, how is a mall? I mean, we weren't totally we were underthinking it, I guess. And here was the person who wouldn't be seen saying, I've been the one running the mall, stock in the food court, providing for all of you. And we were like, well, we thought it was magic, or, the magic of whatever's been happening here. And they said magic and hard work. Right. You're right. It is magic. Like, I'm like the one that cooks the food is like, you know what I mean? I'm the worker. But yeah, the stuff is there. Sometimes it needs to be organized or the ingredients have to be mixed. But yeah, I'm running around. I'm hiding. I've been hiding from all of you. So when you come, you just see the hot dogs circling on that thing. And maybe you smelled them ahead of time. Maybe you didn't even know it, or the popcorn's ready to go. But that's because you never thought to look for someone who couldn't be seen. And he had a laugh at that. We kind of did too, because we never would have thought we needed to keep an eye out for a person who couldn't be seen until we saw the movie. And then even then we didn't think about it, because we said we better keep an eye out for the person who can't be seen, because they are very frowny faced. Not that they, and we said, but this doesn't, why would you be doing that? Because, again, particularly Josie, who had kind of seemed like if Josie was Josie's knee, that Josie's path to the halls of Ivy and great achievement and full scholarships for athletics may not be the case anymore. Like, what are you doing? And they said, well, I'm the mall, I'm helping out in the mall to help all of you. Haven't I done a good job? Aren't I a good worker? And then I think they almost said person. And we said, well, yeah, I guess you've done a good job. Yeah, thank you for feeding us. But why are you helping us is a question. Like, you're just doing it for fun because you're a good person now? Because the person and they said, well, no. Crispy Commander Crunch, they talked to you too. They asked me to do it, to host you in a sense at the mall. And we said, yeah, but why? Well, because you need to eat, you need to feel at home a little bit, right? You need a place to rest. And the Crispy Commander's busy. So, again, it's particularly Josie said, but this doesn't fit with your film. Like, in the film, no offense, you are not a good person in the film. And I didn't see you doing any hosting or preparing anything other than chaos and not kind action. So this doesn't make any sense at all. This is very out of character for you. And the person who can be seen, luckily because they're covered in tea, they held their hands up in a way, like a way of like a passive, like they said, you're right, I am. Like, I want to change. And the Crispy Commander told me the only way to, Commander Crunch told me the only way to change is to change my actions and to behave like a host. And that then I wouldn't be that person that you're saying I am or I was. I needed to be a service to all of you. And then we said, wait a second, so like how long you've been here? Because then and they said a little while before you came. I didn't, I guess your next question, the Crispy Commander kind of sensed you were coming, but didn't know you were, I didn't know who it would be. And there were already the employees that would come and go, and they would, I couldn't help them, but I could kind of help to keep, make sure that they felt like they were actually at work. I'd pretend to be a customer even. And I said, wait a second, okay, so you're here to help us, and then we're here to help you. I mean, we're supposed to help you. So how are you're helping us help you or the people before you, right? And the person who couldn't be seen said, yeah, I guess. But we're supposed to help you, though. But if you're already changed, then we don't really need to do any work, right? Because usually we're trying to help the person in the film change. And this is where I kind of took over because Josie had a strong, the person who couldn't be seen, they would throw bikes and take people's bikes and throw them in canals. And that's why Josie had gone into the film and experienced what it was like. But also Josie had a knowledge of the internal life of the invisible person. And so we kind of kept our distance. This was a blockade. But the truth was, if they were saying, what they were saying was true, we could just put them back in the movie right then. And I told them that, and they said, but for normal, we have to help somebody that works at the mall. And then somehow that gives us a clue to help you. And they said, but I'm a mall worker. And we said, no, you're working at the mall. You're not a mall worker. And we said, but it's changed a little bit as time's gone on. But every time we still have kind of helped somebody. And then we said, thank you for the food. And we kind of all got a sense of maybe we should have a little discussion away from the person who couldn't be seen. And then they said, but I do need your help. I do work at the mall and I get what you're saying. And actually I do need your help. And we said, but yeah, you're not a mall worker though. And then Josie said, well, what do you need our help with? And then they kind of got quiet and they said, they looked around. They even got up and checked all the cabinets in the room that were Crispy Commander size, Commander Crunch, Crispy Commander size cabinets. They said, I need you to keep this a secret between us. And we all said, maybe, depends on the secret. Can't promise to keep a secret till you know the secret, but if it's keepable, we'll keep it. And they said, well, I don't know if I want your help. I want your help because I don't want your help. I don't know if I'm ready to go back yet. I'm not fully changed, they kind of went on that kind of thing. But again, there was something hollow. Maybe it was just that they couldn't be seen, but all of us sensed it. And we said, okay, well, we're going. And they said, and then Josie said, you got to be, I've been inside your head. You got to be more honest. You're not being honest with us or fully honest. If you want to tell us a secret, tell us a secret. And they said, I'm not sure I totally trust the Crispy Commander. And I don't think I want to become a serial. I don't think I don't want to go back in my movie if I become a serial, like I become a serial. I want to go back and change. And if I go back, I guess I don't want to change, or I want to change, but I don't want to change into something else. And we're like, you've been watching us pretty closely, huh? And they said, yeah. And we said, but they seem pretty happy. Frankie, the mommy, and the Count of Chocolate. They all seemed they got what they wanted in a different way by becoming serial people. And the person who couldn't be seen said, I don't know if that's what I want. And we said, well, maybe you don't want it because it's unknown and unexpected. And they said, but I think you're right that in my world, I was not good. In my world, I sowed chaos. And in my world, I was only focused on me. And I don't want to go back to a different world and change, or go back to my world, kind of change, and then go to another world. And we said, okay, well, and then Santos got an idea, and Santos said, okay, so sounds like we need some time here. Let's keep it. I think this is something we could keep because it's just basically normal mistrust. We don't trust you totally. You don't trust the Crispy Commander. Not sure we do. I can't speak for everybody, San said, but I'm not sure we do anymore either. But maybe we buy some time. Maybe maybe we are supposed to help you. You do work in the mall. And Josie said, well, what do you have in mind, San? And San said, let's go to the bookstore. And we said, the bookstore? And Boyd said, theory and action. Interesting. And we said, what do you mean theory and action? And San said, yeah, I think it's like school time. And so we said, would you come to the bookstore with us? And there happened to be 2 bookstores at this mall. And the closest one was Whitman Books. So we went to Whitman Books, and the person who couldn't be seen came. It was interesting because only their upper body and a little bit of their lower body had tea and paste on it. But so they kind of looked like a floating tea bush or something. But we said, come on, we'll go, and we're going to trust that you're not going to do anything or try to clean off your tea. And actually, this was another idea we had while we were walking behind the person who couldn't be seen's back. Boyd came up with this idea too, and used a different kind of glue to put a sign on the back of the person who couldn't be seen. It did say something that, signs said, this is my bottom, like more or less. This is my backside. This is the backside of water. Splash the backside of water. Something like that, the sign said. But it was on their back where they couldn't see the sign. I mean, I wonder if they looked down at their belly, but it was covered in tea, they would be able to see through and see the sign. Or if they stood in a mirror, the sign would just be floating. But because their body was covered in tea, I don't know. It's just an extra idea. So we got to the bookstore. We said, okay, San, what's the plan now? And San said, reading assignment. You'll need to read, and we'll go back to working at the mall, but you stay here. And, we'll enter. I mean, it's not like we're going to leave you, but we'll come back, and we'll give you books to read, and you basically will give us oral reports on the books, and they'll help establish you. And Boyd was already out looking for books. So Boyd came back first with 2 books, Getting to Yes and The 1 Minute Salesperson. And then Santa already ran off and came back with 2 books. And they were all, funny thing was everything was in different sections. And Santa's books were in books, I guess laughing because I don't know if it fits anymore, the section. But one was called The Last Barrier. Another one was The Teachings of Don Juan. And gave those to the invisible person. And then Josie was off. And Josie came back with The Handmaid's Tale and this book, Ways of Seeing. And I guess I had some experience with my family and stuff. So I went and got like 2 books that I'd seen around my house a lot and I'd seen my parents reading. One of them was called The Big Book. Another one was called 12 and 12. So I gave those to the person who couldn't be seen, who had never read any of these books. They said, I thought this one's the Bible. And we said, read those books slowly over, and Josie said, wait a second. Meanwhile, started looking through and then called me over and said, go to classics and see what you can find. Like I'm looking through autumnal books and I found something, check classics. And then sent San to go to the children's books, see if there's illustrated classics or comic classics. And we said, why? And it didn't take long before I realized what I was supposed to be looking for in classics. Well, first off was the Invisible Man, which I said, okay, that's, I pulled that out. And they said, oh, yeah, that's funny. But then I said, wait a second, what about Frankie, the Count, and the mommy? And I started to look for those books, and the books were not they weren't the original books. And then we kind of all found them at the same time in different sections of the bookstore. So instead of a tale, it was a full novel about the Count called The Count de Chocolate, not The Count. And it told the tale of the Count de Chocolate as the cartoon. It was a full piece of fiction, almost like nowadays people write fan fiction, right? It doesn't necessarily always come out in a paper book, but if it did come out in a paper book, but it said it was classic, but it was someone writing a whole fictional novel about a cartoon figure on a cover of a cereal box who has a cereal based on them. And then there was Frankenfunk. And I said, Frankenfunk, and it was another full novel. Now I can't remember if there was authors or not in my memory, or did I even look, or was it just not clear? And it was a tale of amalgamation who became in a funk. It was, I was just paging through it, right? But the thing was that in illustrated classics, it was the same thing. No mommy. It was about this sock puppet, it was again this character from the cereal and not the original characters. And I don't know, but the Invisible Man was still the regular book. And we were like, what is going on here? Have things been changed? Because in every section of the bookstore, the books were changed. And we're just confusing. Meanwhile, though, the person who wouldn't be seen, Boyd kind of set them up at one of the employee workstations and said, we're going to keep you in here. We're going to check on you, but we're going to keep coming back too. And then we'll see, how you're doing, how you're progressing and that kind of stuff. And then we'll come check on you. And so we left and we closed up the bookshop, and then we kind of had a kind of conference of we sat down on one of the dried out fountains and started to think what our next move would be. All right, this is Wyatt here. Sorry, I got a little interrupted there with my remembering, and I had to take a break, to be honest. But we were sitting there trying to come up with a plan of what to do next while the person who couldn't be seen was occupied. Now, one thing we realized was that Boyd had taken a book out of the bookstore, and it was a book. I don't know which one it was. Back then, you'd have these reference books about movies, and nowadays you could just look that up on the internet. I don't know if this is Leonard Maltin's book or somebody else's, but listing all the movies. And as Boyd was looking through that, we said, let's go to the movie store where you could rent movies. But there was also, so we went there first, but we were also like, maybe we could go to there was a store that sold movies and at the time CDs and cassette tapes, some records. And so we went there as Boyd was trying, and Boyd had, it wasn't easy looking through a big reference book. But Boyd said, yeah, in this book, the movies are changed too. And what we found when we went to the movie store. Now, this wasn't all Buster's movies, that famous movie, all Buster's movies. Did you know that in this, that there was a shoe store called Buster Brown? Then it became all Buster's movies. That was where everybody when I was a kid. That's where everybody went to get movies, and you could get free balloon, I think, too. But we went there. No, we didn't go. No, did we go there? Was it in the mall or not? I don't know. But we went to the movie rental store. Believe it or not, they didn't really have any of those movies. They didn't really have a big classic movie section. So we weren't able to get confirm that the movies had changed. So then we decided to go to the theater and check on the other movie, right? Because we knew another movie was playing, another film. And maybe that was let's just use our time efficiently. And when we got to that part of the multiplex where we could hear a movie playing, the doors were locked. And they were locked up. We couldn't get the doors open. So then we were listening to the movie. And we couldn't really hear very much. We could hear some music playing, but other than that, I started to believe that I knew what the movie that was playing was, and I was convinced. I said, "This, what's happening? This movie that's playing is a metaphorical movie, the most metaphorical of the autumnal films." And everybody said, and then I said, I'm sure that's a movie playing. And we said, well, why do you think, we went back and forth. Why are the doors locked? What should we do? We tried getting the doors open. We couldn't do that. I was convinced, and I tried to convince everybody, but everybody else was like, I don't know. Does that movie have dialogue? I can't hear any dialogue for this movie that's playing right now. Just a lot of music, a lot of organ music. And why would a show about like the Jack the Doctor, and the steamed, I don't know, is it a movie about somebody that was in a bad mood, good? Sometimes they're in a bad mood, sometimes they're in a good mood, but they change personalities, right? But no one else was. They said, well, it doesn't matter what movie it is if we can't get in there. And then we were like, I wonder if they're in there, And then something came, I think it was the locking of the door that made us realize, wait a second. So the person who can't be seen's movie is still playing, right? And we've kind of entered in this world, especially after meeting the person who couldn't be seen, that is this this is like work and magic. And I mean, not a magic like from a magic show or magic, like something about the intersection of transverse plane means there's stuff happening beyond our understanding. Who do you think is playing the movies? Is it magic or is someone, because the invisible person, the person who couldn't be seen, they never said they started the movie. And they couldn't start their own movie, right? And we said, let's go to a projectionist booth and find out. And as we were headed there, now the great news was that Josie had an older brother, and her older brother was a projectionist. But as we were walking there, talking, we were like, well, what happened if we stopped the movie? Would the person who couldn't be seen... You know what I mean? Like, and we said, well, we better make sure it's a real film, but we, maybe it's the kind of thing we can't damage the film. And so we went into the projectionist booth. Now, it was locked, but because Josie's brother worked there, Josie knew that up on the sill of the door, is that what it's called? The door frame. At the top of the door frame was where they kept the keys to the projectionist booth. So the projectionist would not have to get the key or carry the keys, you know, because it was like it used to be like a nice job to have. But then when the multiplex came, it was just another thing that somebody would get assigned to have to deal with and do their shift. And also the reason people knew the keys is because it was a place where you could... if you needed some thinking time, or let's just say you wanted to, like, kiss someone on the cheek, or have a couple drinks when you weren't supposed to, that was the place they did that. At least Josie's brother's friends. We didn't have a projectionist in our group of friends. And so we went into the projectionist booth, and we sensed something... powerful, right? The combination that we'd sensed all along. There was magic, and that's not really an accurate word. You know what I'm saying? It's that something was happening, but so the movie was playing, but so it was operating. But it was also, there was something else coming off of the projector, right? Because it would have to change reels. Kind of looked a little bit fuzzy. And then we were kind of like, well, maybe we should stop the projector. Like, and then we were like, well, maybe it's too bad we don't have like walkie-talkies or something, because we probably should keep an eye on the person who couldn't be seen. If we stop their movie, what happens? And so we were kind of coming up with a basic plan for that, you know, of like, okay, well, maybe we'll stop the movie. Maybe we'll go. Then how are we going to communicate? Who's going to stop the movie? Should we use a stick? What happens if you come in contact with a magical projector or a projector in contact with some other, you know what I'm saying? And it was a lot of, like, we all did our own, like, ranging around and pacing and stuff. And that's when Santos said, hey, like, hey, look, there's a big, like, air vent, right? Or air duct. And there was some scraps of material hanging from the air duct. And Santos said, this is like a purple and green and blue. This is like, and Santos pulled the thing because it gotten caught in the corner of the air duct, which easily opened, like it could be swung open. So the bottom screws had been removed and it was on a hinge. And Santos said, this is the same, like, Crispy Commander's uniform, the same material. And we all said, well, maybe. And then we said, well, who's going to take a look inside this duct? And we pushed over some chairs. And eventually, you know, I said, okay, I'll do it. I'm fine with, boost me up. And so this was a duct close to the ceiling, very large though, like easily accessible by someone my size, average, 17 to 20-year-old. So I got up there and I wiggled my way in. And not far from wiggling my way in, I found some things. And because it was the projection booth, it was kind of like what are those things called, like a photo lab or wherever you develop Oh, that's probably, you don't know what that is either. The light wasn't great. So there was a box and there was pieces of paper and a blanket. And I said, this is kind of like a cozy little spot. And then there was a lantern. And it was a battery-powered lantern. Now, back then, they had these giant lantern batteries, and I turned it on, but I was already handing the stuff out, but it kind of looked like a little cozy hangout. And there were pens, there was crumbled up paper, and I could hear my friends. They said, come back down, come back down. And they said, this is like stationery. This is a stationery kit from the stationery store. And so we got, we started going, and then there was like piles of letters, and some of the scrap paper was practice letters, and this was lovey-dovey, and that's actually the name of the stationery set. So I think this store in the mall was called Sailing the Seas of Stationery. Sailing the Stationary Seas. Maybe it was Sailing the Stationary Seas. That's kind of funny because seas are rarely stationary. Sailing the Stationary Seas. I don't know. But we started going through these love letters and, lovey-dovey. It meant that it had doves and love on it. Lovebirds, I guess you'd say. And it said lovey-dovey. So that's why it was something you'd do for Valentine's Day that you'd write love letters with. But more like we in high school would write love letters with. And then Josie was the first one. Josie goes, these are written by the Crispy Commander. These are Crispy Commander love letters and love poems. And I said, wait a second, what? And she said, yeah, these are love letters written by the Crispy Commander, Commander Crunch. And we were like, suddenly we felt like, even though we felt strange because we felt like we were in a private business of unreal character from a cereal box and the cereal commercials that had become real. We'd found their way into their personal business. And so we all took a second because it was like so unreal. We kind of needed to lie around and read the poetry, but all in our own. We moved to different sections of the room and started to read through all these love letters and drafts of, and I even got out the rest of the drafts of poems. And maybe it was just because we were teens, or maybe it was because we were reading like someone else's love letters, like reading their diary, but it was someone that was both real and unreal at the same time. That it kind of like took a while, like almost like I think we even rested. And I think that's probably a good place for me to take a rest now. And then I'll get back to you with these love letters and love poems written by the Crispy Commander, Commander Crunch. Good night, everybody. All right, I want to thank everybody that supported the show on Sleep With Me Plus recently. I want to thank Carrie, Emily, Elaine. Thank you, thanks, good night. Laura, Abigail, and Jess. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Judy, Amelia, and Dan. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Christina, Justin, and Dennis. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Michael, Steve, and Elizabeth. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Grace, Abigail, and Stephanie. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Karen, Belinda, and Brian. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Summer, Kendra, and Tess. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Sarah, Jasmine, and Sophia. Thanks, and good night. Caitlin, Kennedy, and Zoe. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Thanks, everybody who supports the show directly on Sleep With Me Plus or Apple Podcasts or supported the show in the past, or people that support the sponsors or are part of our referral program, referring people to the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, just running through people who support the show, not just for themselves, but for you, anybody that chooses not to support the show or just isn't in a place where they can support the show. But if you're wondering when you support, if you've been putting it off or you're on the fence or you're meaning to do it, remember, like these listeners I'm reading through, when you support the show for yourself, you get a lot, something designed, particularly if you listen all night long, you fall asleep fast, you listen multiple nights a week, you have favorite episodes. You're going to get the best listening experience on Sleep With Me Plus because all the podcasts on Sleep With Me Plus are designed with people like you in mind and how you like to listen to the show. And that's what we built Sleep With Me Plus for super listeners, for people that have an opinion about the show and have a certain listening style. But then you also get peace of mind. If you do count on the podcast, you don't think you could replace it with something else, it's going to be there. And on top of all that, you're a part of something way bigger than me, way bigger than you, that has a positive impact. The reality is thousands of people's lives for each supporter. And so I'm going to read through these ones. The first one is from Rosie, who was one of the rare listeners who loved the show from the first time they listened, became a supporter after that first listen. Why? It entertained me, distracted me, and helped me relax enough to fall asleep. Still supporting the show. I never felt any obstacle to supporting the show. I started supporting it. I support other sleep podcasts, and I always return to Sleep With Me. And it feels great. I want the show to never end, so I'm happy to support it. Good sleep is priceless. I love the humor and wisdom, compassion, normalizing of brain bots. And my favorite is all intros that Bore Besties and Bore Friends get a feed full of all intros that come out twice a month in addition to the all intros we regularly put out. And I feel like you do a great job at communicating, connecting people with the support team for tech help. And I have a memory of an intro involving walking on peaches, but I never heard it again. Well, thanks, Rosie, for supporting the show. Next up is Sherry, who started listening to the show after reading an article in a magazine in 2015. And I started listening to the free show, but my use was sporadic, which is kind of a normal way to listen. And I had a big uneaten, not easy life event. And I knew I would need much more support in all caps and would listen all night long as I went through this. Scoots was the best Bore friend I could ask for. I knew I needed to support something that was supporting me so much. And my biggest obstacle was cost when I didn't support the show. Even then, absolutely everything I wanted to support the show. But at the time, cost stopped me. But I feel great now being able to make a difference, not just in my own life, but in the lives of others, including everyone who works to bring the show to people listening, and that made me feel great. My favorite thing about this podcast is how easily it sends me off to sleep and helps me, keeps me asleep. Allows my brain a break from all this overwhelming stuff I'm dealing with, so I can go through that process and get a good night's sleep and resume processing things during the day. And I do have everything set up. My favorite is the regular ad-free episodes. I also enjoyed the readings of Frank and Victoria, Frankie and Victor. Victoria, I was thinking of Victoria. She's on the ride in Universal. Sorry, tangent there. And I think you're doing a great job of communicating. The first time I listened to the podcast, I fell asleep. I adore Scoots and everything related to the show. Thanks. And last, we're going to run through Ruth. Hey, I'm Ruth. I'm an Italian woman, and having a kind and funny boyfriend in the deep, dark nights when it happens I'm awake is invaluable. I'm over 50. I've always suffered from insomnia since I was a child. no one was ever there with me until Scoots arrived. He makes the night less deep and dark, less lonely. He makes me smile. He's adorably goofy, and that's what I like the most and makes him different and standing out. The tone, continuous talking. This is great for falling asleep. Besides this, humble and kind, nice, a real loving attitude towards human beings. I feel like he deserves my gratitude and my support. I understand Scoots involves a lot of time and energy into planning and effort to produce this wonderful podcast, and I want to give something in return for this. I will always be grateful to our common boar bestie for his support to us during our sleepless nights. Thank you, dear Scoots, and I want you to be able to be here for a long time, ready to come and rescue me on those hard but no more lonely nights. And I'm still currently supporting the show, even though I don't listen to it as much nowadays. I don't want it to stop. It reassures me to know that Scoots is there in case of need. And I feel like I'm recognizing the value Scoots provides by supporting the show. My favorite thing is that Scooter makes me smile, and his voice is smooth and grateful in a super calming tone. And it sounds like Ruth doesn't even listen to the Sleep With Me Plus content, but if you do, you could set it up. So thanks to everybody that supports the show, Sherry, Ruth, and Rosie in this case. If you relate to any of that, there are other ways to support the show. You could spread the word about the podcast and be surprised by Scoots. You could spread the word about something else that's important in your life other than Sleep With Me. You could support the show directly, because when you do, if you're a super listener, you get the best possible listening experience, but you also you're a part of something bigger. I think I already said it. But those are huge way. Letting people know about the show is a huge way. And yeah, if you want to be surprised by Scoots, tag me or send me an email. Maybe you'll get a free, if you can't afford to support the show, reach out, spread the word. And if for some reason you just can't support the show, like financially, or you just can't do it. You can't spread the word about it. I know there are people out there. You just say, I can't do either one of those. Or I think there's more people that say, I'm not going to do either one of those. We do have a scholarship program, too. So you could email me through the contact form on our website, share with me, and I can try to, and we have listeners willing to support the show. But the reality is, if you're listening to this and you support the show for yourself, you're already supporting it for other people. So, when you sign up, let me know, and I'll make sure that when I hear from the people that aren't in a place, whatever the place is, where they can support the show financially, or I'm not comfortable supporting this show by spreading the word either, I'll make sure your support goes to one of those people. So you're supporting it for you and a lot of other people too. Thanks, and good night. Oh, by the way, you could always, the best way to support the show's on Sleep With Me Plus. That's at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. I can't believe I forgot that. Thanks.